All right, assalamu alaikum everyone. Peace and greetings. I'm Dr. Debbie Almontaser. The presentation I'm about to share with you is actually based on my book, which actually is titled Leading While Muslim. Leading While Muslim is actually a book that I developed through my dissertation, which actually was done for my education, leadership, and policy program at Fordham University. Leading While Muslim is actually a study that was done on 14 American Muslim principals serving in public education, who basically what I wanted to do as an academic is to actually find out what was their experience. So before I begin talking about them, I want to talk a little bit about myself. This study was actually inspired by my own personal experience as a former and founding principal of the Khalil Gibran International Academy, the first public dual language Arabic school in the United States. Upon founding the school and the school being announced, I was actually attacked by right-wing interest groups who did not want to see an Arabic dual language school come to fruition in New York City. And sadly, what ended up happening was the mayor and the chancellor of the New York City Public School, they caved and pandered and forced me out of my position. So what I wanted to do as an academic was to look and see if there were other American Muslim principals out there who may have experienced an experience such as mine, or maybe not. And it was really important for me to see if others had experienced hardship, had experienced aspiration to even go further in their career. And so what I wanted to do was to look at their lived experiences as American Muslim principals in public education after 9/11. And so what I looked at were several things. I wanted to know if the political discourse, which is what we see every day, the ongoing Islamophobia rhetoric, if the global events, the events that we see happening globally, terrorism that happens across the world, is affecting their leadership and spirituality. And the last was to see if the media coverage of Islam and Muslims was affecting their leadership and spirituality. These things were very important for me because based on my own experience, I felt that these three things played a role in what happened to me. And so I went on a quest to basically find principals across the country. Now, I started in New York City, and I actually found a few. And those few that I actually reached out to, and I asked them to be a part of this study, a couple of them said, okay, we'll be a part of your study. But the others were so terrified of being a part of this study that they literally said to me, please don't call me or email me. I don't want to ever hear from you. And that was because of the trauma that they saw that I experienced, that they were terrified that that could happen to them simply for associating with me. And so that made them fear so much that they didn't want to have anything to do with it. So I ended up going national to look for people. In total, I found 20 American Muslim principals working in public education. I'm not talking about Islamic schools. I'm talking about full-fledged public education. Of the 20, I was only able to engage 14 principals. It took me weeks of conversations to win their trust and to help them understand that they will be anonymous in my research. There were individuals that were the only Muslim American principals in their state, in their whole entire state. And it took me weeks to get them on board because they said to me, my experience is so unique. My superintendent can easily find out it's me because I'm the only one. How will I be protected? And so through my conversations of getting them to feel safe and comfortable and not providing the information of the states that they lived in and actually using within my research, the western region, the eastern region, the northern region, just to give them that protection, I was able to get them to be a part of it. So the research, as I mentioned, has 14 principles. In the 14, 6 of them are men, and the other are 8 women. The demographics, which people will find really interesting, and I'm really happy that the 2 earlier presenters actually laid the foundation for the history of Islam and Muslims in the Americas, were actually African American. 6 were African American Muslims, 3 women, and 3 men who are selfless individuals who are part of their communities that identified both as Muslim and are a part of the African American diaspora. In addition, there were 6 Arab American, 4 women and 2 men. And I had 1 person who was born in Tanzania and the other one from Pakistan. So that's the total number of people that were a part of this study. In addition to that, these leaders served in K-8 schools, most of them, and some of them in high schools, and a couple of them actually served in elementary schools and middle schools. So the emerging themes that came across in this study were really very, very telling and very profound for me. The first one is political climate. They felt that the political climate was so loaded and so charged that it was for them a lot of times very difficult to pull themselves together, get themselves to work, and try to function like normal human beings. Why? Because the climate was so politically charged, and I'll give you examples of times in history that it made it very difficult for them to wake up. If you remember the presidential race, where Barack Hussein Obama was continually being attacked and maligned as a Muslim, and that he, as a Muslim, should not become president, those days were very difficult for some of these leaders to actually embrace their identities and to actually be able to operate and function. Now, what's interesting in this is that people don't understand that there is this social and emotional element that we all as human beings experience. And so these individuals were experiencing these social and emotional challenges that at times made them feel inferior and foreign because of their Muslim identities. And that's actually one of the items that actually I was able to measure, where many of them gave examples and experiences of moments where they felt inferior and foreign. Now, what made this, what perpetuated a lot of this was the role of the media. When I was interviewing these individuals, the word media was mentioned 143 times. 143 times that these 14 people uttered the word the media and the role of the media and how the media perpetuates a lot of the political spectacle. I use political spectacle as the framework to look at the research. And it's so important that for those of you who are academics to look at Murray Edelman's political spectacle to understand what I'm talking about. Murray Edelman talks in great detail about how there are a cast of characters that actually have certain roles to create political spectacle.